Hi. So, in today's video, I will be talking to you about some misinformation, confusion introduced on purpose, so that you would have an impression that you cannot reach someone, you cannot get somewhere. Um, I believe those situations happened to me so that I would have this mental blockage that the book writing is not going anywhere, and so on and so on. um yeah, so it's gonna be the next part of the story taken from Piglet. uh, and the entire process of writing and looking for a sponsor or looking for people to hand in the book, even so I could feel safer. So if that's something for you, then stay tuned. And yeah, um, you know, when I went to the Story Club, I went there because when I was writing the note, I actually forgot what I was writing, and therefore I decided, that that was the time to go and publish the book, whatever the version of it was. And when writing the book, I had a lot of difficulties with managing the story. And even when I was trying to match and incorporate snippets and memories that came to me, and I had a lot of notes to incorporate into the main book, then I would sit and think too long what goes where, and I couldn't just handle it easily. When in fact, I always loved stories, and when I had to learn for literature exam, then trust me, I learned fast, and that was very, eye opening for me too. That it's probably because I like stories. So there was nothing actually mentally overwhelming or challenging or intellectually challenging within the story itself, because it's not about analysis of what's the difference between this word and this word, like when I was writing my MA thesis. Oh dear. But that was just a story, and it should be simple. And my all experience life experience shows me that I love stories and handle them easily. However, I had to write them or rewrite them, paraphrase them. Yeah. So when writing that book, all of a sudden that became a challenge for me. And not only that, and everything lasted longer. Like I was translating my own book for, I could translate 5 hours for somebody. I was asked to translate in 5 hours, 5 pages, and it was done. And yeah, still needed one more reading, but more or less it was quite okay. And when I was translating my own book, like 5 pages could take me an entire day and a few hours from the night. So, really, there was a huge impact of covert hypnosis on my time perception and my self, productivity, and so on and so on. And there is more. And when I was writing the book, there is more. But the moment when I was taking the note and I forgot in half of the note what I was about to write, I was like, I'm publishing whatever I have and however it looks. And I was walking to people just to, to spread the awareness, let people know there is something like covert hypnosis, occultism, and so on. And, so I went to the Story Club, and there is this Jewish owner, a very nice, cute person. Um, and I gave him the book, and I gave him the note, with my email address. And my email address included the name of my dog. The name of my dog is to be Thanatos, which the story goes, I told you the story, but let me just refresh your memory. The story goes that, somebody in the family thought Thanatos meant the god of dreams, but no, actually it's a god of, death. So, well, great. Even our dog is no longer with us, and we still use that word. And then I look at the snippet and I think, oh my god, this is not good. And yeah, and the entire situation when I was handing in the book was designed in such a way so that I would think, oh no, there was an inspection. But probably it was not an inspection, just it appeared that way. So that I would be a little bit scared. But I don't think that that was the intentional activity of the owner of the club, who is the best bartender. Yeah, I met, one of the best I met, and he's a very, he's got a skill of talking to people too. So it's not only the aim to scare me. That's not from him, and that always was one of the my favorite places to go to in my town. So highly recommended to visit Sorry Club. And then I wanted to go to our famous climber Tomek Oleksy, whom he we did together an interview. He came to my house and gave me his time, and he was really an interesting person too. So Tomek is a climber, and when I went to his usual place where he ran his classes, it turned out that he moved a little bit further from the city center. So when I was walking and looking for the place, I just couldn't find it. There was a little bit of miscommunication with design. So I went really, really far away, and I saw a big building saying that this is Lanza or Lanza. And then I got back because I didn't find Kahanovskiego Street. And when standing on Kahanovskiego Street, I could see the sign saying Lanza is on Kahanovskiego Street. So I'm standing on Kahanovskiego Street, and where I was very far away, and there was this building Lanza. So it meant like, okay, so probably there should be Kahanovskiego. But that was not true. But anyway, even when being on Kahanovskiego, I still did not find Tomek. It's still something on to-do list because he was a very smart person to talk to. And then I went to my former lecturer, and so here I received some miscommunication. So I entered not the university, it's not the university yet, but let me call it that way, it's easier. So I entered the university academy, or I entered our academy, and I entered just any room, random room, and I asked for Mr. Nawrocki, and I was told that, well, I can call for you. And when that person called, they told me he's got classes on Thursdays, and I'm like, but what other days is he available on? And he didn't ask this one more question on the phone that he so willingly called. Okay, so it turned out that he wasn't available on Thursdays. Then I found, I was looking for just on the rooms and checking who had classes where. And I happened to meet my former teacher, Mrs. Kotso. And when I was talking to her, she's like, all the time, no bloody clue. I have no bloody clue. So, well, okay, it's a specific word. And then she sent me to the locker room. In the locker room, they told me, oh, Mr. Nawrocki comes wherever he wants to. He sometimes comes earlier so that he could leave earlier. And I'm like, when you have classes, lectures, scheduled, is that really possible? You could come and leave. So, I received a miscommunication. You can say, it happens to each one of us. Yes, but it happens. It sometimes happens on purpose. Um, and then when talking to Mr. Nawrocki, I have learned about um, his son, that he didn't have a son psychologist. And when he used to teach me, he taught me for all 3 years, and he wasn't a communicative or talkative person, but he taught me even conversation classes. And during those conversation classes, the only personal thing that he said was he had a son psychologist. Yeah. And then when I talked to him, I even wrote, I had writing classes with him too, and I even wrote the writing about a date with a plastic surgeon. I had just one date and I wrote about it, and he looked at me with an attention. But other than that, I had a strong feeling that he really, really disliked me. And one time I remember with phonetic classes, we were so overwhelmed with tasks he gave us. And I studied so hard to make it all, with the earlier deadline. I wanted to go and have it all done and out of my head. And I just committed one mistake and I didn't pass. And he was happy. He really looked like, smiling, happy, pleased. Uh, so that what got me ponder a little bit, like, why would you be happy about your students, failure, you know? And um, he was the one who would talk a lot about Islam a lot, and we just knew nothing about it. And he he kept on talking about it, and we couldn't reply, so it wasn't really a topic adjusted for a group of girls who couldn't respond. Right. So, I thought he acted that way because maybe, he was under the influence of hypnosis or something. And when I came to him, actually, he told me he didn't have a son of that age. Um, and he told me he had a little son. And he told me that there were a lot of people with the same surname that he had. Um, so, fine. And, this meeting with his son or not his son um, is a meeting, where I was actually picking my nose in the bar that he owned, and I left a dirty toilet over there. And then after maybe even 2 years, after some time, when I met him in a sorry club, I went to the toilet, and here is the very shameful thing. I farted so loud, and oh dear, he could hear me. And then I met a boy who was very, very similar to him. And when I was coming back from the party with that boy, and I invited him to the flat, actually he was standing right in front of my flat, parking his motorcycle right in front of my flat. So I was seen, well, as usual. And then, so I believe I received a little bit of misinformation when reaching out to Mr. Navratsky, and maybe from Mr. Navratsky, I don't know, he says he doesn't have a son, so, well, okay. And then I went to Kung Fu class, and there was some intertextuality, I have to tell you about the Kung Fu class from the past when I used to go to. So in the past, I thought about hanging on the wall bars and then strengthening your hand grip, and that prolongs your life. And when I thought that, then one boy went to hang on those wall bars, And then I thought about water, having a glass of water in the morning. So a friend of mine would tell me about that. Her having a glass of water in the morning. Then I think about hot water because I learned from Lisa Mosconi and her book Brain Food that hot water is very good for your brain. So she says she's got a hot glass of water early in the morning. Okay, so we talked about running, and I think running is dangerous unless you run on a soft surface and you have the right shoes. And she's like, yeah, I run. I didn't say that. I didn't manage to say that. And she just goes on, then, I run on the grass. Okay, that's great. So there was a fast reaction in response to my thoughts. Have, yeah, and when having a fight, that was the best. She actually kind of, it looked like she was reading my mind, and I couldn't, be so fast because when I planned to do something, she already as if knew about it, and she was kept on looking on the left side where I had my Akashic records and where you have your Akashic records. So I remember very, very strongly that when I used to go to Kung Fu class, I used to think about yoga class. And all the time I was in my head a little bit guilty that, oh, I feel like doing yoga and I want to do yoga. And I think of yoga all the time when I'm in Kung Fu. Why? Yeah. And then, 3 years later, I go there to give them the book, and I go there just to have the class. First, I go there just to have the class after 3 years of not showing up. And they don't have the class in the gym at school. but they have the class in the hall. Before I learn about it, I go and see, look at the gym's closed. I go further and look for another entrance, and I see, oh, yoga class. Oh, I thought about it, and there was the yoga class. There was the competition showed up. Okay, so yeah, and then there was one man sitting who told me, okay, you have to go upstairs, and then there was a nice girl who walked me up there, and I think they were both Jewish, and he was also a Tai Chi instructor. So I went up, and there was this very long corridor, and I was somewhere at the very end of it, not by the wall, but I was somewhere at the very end of it. And my instructor kept on looking at me, so I was like, yeah, it's cool, it's cool. And I was thinking, that was the time when I was thinking about the sun. I was thinking about bringing people the sun in terms of some clarity on hypnosis, although I'm actually the one who tells you the story of covert hypnosis from the perspective of person who experienced it, and I still need to work on learning um, how to how to use hypnosis. Uh, So I was there almost at the end. He kept on staring. I was thinking about the sun, and people would send me a lot of sexual thoughts and so on, so that I would be embarrassed. At that moment of my life, I already knew that people could access Akashic records and could see my memories. So I felt ashamed. Mm, yeah, and sometime later, when I came to him with my book, actually, I made this, he was having his class, and I came in, and then I just stood back to the class, and it was just one leg movement, and I was like, and there was this dialogue in my head that I was a cobra and something, and he asked me what was he supposed to do with the book, share it, like give it away to other people. And I'm like, well, if somebody wants to tell their story to me and be included in the book, and I'm gonna go and meet that person for a cup of coffee, sure, why not. But other than that, I didn't know what to do about the book. um And what I want to tell you here, the thoughts about being a cobra, I don't believe they are mine, but uh, what I want to tell you here is that someone in my family dated a boy whose surname was Mashlanka, and my kung fu instructor is Mashlanka too. And then when I worked in Holland, I met a man who was of the same posture. He looked very gypsy, and my instructor looks that way too. Um, yeah, and Mashlanka, that the person from the family dated, was the one who liked looking in the mirrors, or he would stop in front of the windows